Welcome to the CEO Hour with Dean Akers. The mission to help CEOs and startups succeed in today's marketplace. Entrepreneur or established CEO, is your business growing? Where's your business going? Let's talk about it with your host, Dean Akers.
Well, welcome to the CEO Hour. This is your host, Dean Akers, bringing you entrepreneurs and CEOs every week that are going to share their journey of both what they've learned in their successes and other ideas to help you. Today we have a really special guest. We have Sheryl Hunter. She's an attorney in Tampa, but I really think she's an entrepreneur. So she really helped a lot of entrepreneurs. I met her helping entrepreneurs, and I'm really proud to have her on today. Welcome, Sheryl.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
You're like you're an abnormality in this space, I think. You really are a business person.
Yeah, I am. I just have the same heartbeat, as a lot of our clients. And in fact, one of the best compliments a client gave me, he says, you're not a lawyer. And I'm like, what have I done? He says, you're an entrepreneur with a law degree. And I was like, I'll take that. That's like actually a pretty spot on. So the way our listeners love is they love your journey, and we kind of break it all the way back to 1969. Thank you so much for pointing that out.
Well, that's
just
exactly.
Kidding. Just kidding. That's your ever.
I've got to learn. That's a no on with certain people.
Perfectly fine. I have no issue with it.
So you tell me about where you grew up.
So I grew up in Peoria, Illinois, which is just a nice little Midwestern town and home of Caterpillar. So it actually had quite a bit of international executives that moved to the area to head up that company. And wonderful childhood, very, very blessed, wonderful parents. They're still with me. And my grandparents lived in that town. And so I had really an idyllic childhood, I have to say.
So you graduate from high school, college was in your mix, right?
Absolutely. Well, I went to a boarding school, which is a little bit unique. Oh. I went to Culver Academies in Indiana. So very old school. It's actually Culver Military Academy for boys, CMA, and then Culver Academies, they had started having women attend in the 70s. So my dad and my mother had both gone to boarding schools and had good experiences. It wasn't like, we're sending you away. It's just, do you want to have this opportunity? And it was fantastic. There were over 24 different countries represented.
Wow.
It was very, very international school and a gorgeous campus. And it really, at a very young age, I went when I was 13. So it was getting exposure to people from all over the world in a young time in my life, I think had a big influence on how I thought about the world. So.
Well, you're also mixing in that school, I'm guessing, with your peers in that school are not dummies, non-self-starter. I would think that the people in that school...
Yeah, I mean, it's an application-oriented school, so you're certainly dealing with people who have a certain ability to handle academic rigor and, maybe athletic interests and things like that. Certainly, there's some elements of that. But things, I guess a good example was the horrible earthquake in Mexico happened, and I had a number of roommates in my dorm, boarding school dorm, who were from Mexico. And so, it seems like a world away. If I was just in Peoria, I wouldn't be thinking about an earthquake and the devastation in Mexico, but, it just brings the world into a smaller view.
Wow. So do you still have friendships from there?
I do, actually. I have a few people, not as many as you might think, but there's that camaraderie still. If you see somebody from Culver, if somebody's on LinkedIn that's from Culver, you feel an instant kinship with them. So certainly feel like I could reach out to anybody that I would have that connection with. I've been back several times. They actually have an amazing entrepreneurship program.
Really?
Yeah, Ron Rubin, who was the founder of Republic Tea, he gave a lot of money for the School of Entrepreneurship. And actually, the Steinbrenner family from here, many of them attended Culver. So there's quite a few people from the Tampa Bay area.
So does it go past 12th grade?
No. It's just 8th grade through 12th grade.
So that school, I know we're not really want to dwell on that school, but yeah. It's really interesting to me that they have a bent for entrepreneurship from those age groups.
Oh, it was incredible. I went back to kind of observe and do a little bit of speaking on this subject for them, and I was incredibly impressed. They were doing pitch competitions, and
wow.
In fact, it was very what's her name? One of the famous designers. She was
Vera
there.
Lang or whatever.
Yeah, no, it was, oh gosh, the purses that are not my style, but so cute. But anyway, so they had some incredible graduates who came back for this pitch competition, and these kids, like, their slide decks were just mind-blowing. I was like, you should come down and help us out here in Tampa Bay with some slide decks.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really neat to see at such a young age that they were getting exposure to entrepreneurship.
You know, that has to be encouraging for you. And I know you working with young entrepreneurs and will continue on your journey, but I actually had a discussion earlier today with some folks, and they were my age in their mid-60s and stuff, and they were talking about the youth. And I said, look, the youth is awesome.
No doubt.
Yeah, you don't need to see what you see on TV and think that's going everywhere.
No, they have so many talents and skills that just come from being born into a technology era. They just gravitate and get it immediately. And even people, in their 20s and early 30s, they just can fix it faster. It's just the way that it is.
Yeah, so now you graduate from high school.
Yes.
And where's your next track?
I actually went 1 year to school in California. Thought I wanted to be a psychologist. So I went to one of the Claremont colleges, Pitzer College. It was very known for that particular area. It was not a fit at all. It was outside of LA. It was very kind of grunge. It was cool, but it just wasn't my style. And I think the biggest thing is if you go to boarding school, you've already lived away from home for a number of years. So I didn't want to be on a campus. I wanted to be in a city. And I did a semester in D.C. I worked on the Hill, and that was an awesome experience. And so I did just a semester at George Washington, and then I never left. I fell in love with Washington. So. Yeah,
that's a pretty dynamic city.
Oh, it's fantastic. I think any young person going to school can't imagine a better place to go to school in terms of just, again, the international exposure, people who are so interested and dynamic of what's going on in our country and in the world. And the professors that we had, the adjunct professors, that were able to come in because they were traveling to D.C. or they were located in D.C. It was awesome.
So that became home for your undergraduate.
Yes, and law school. I went to Georgetown for law.
Wow. So what in the world happened then to graduated from law school from Georgetown?
Yeah.
And how'd you migrate here?
Well, as I said, I had great parents, and they had moved here.
Really?
They moved to Palm Harbor, and so they moved my senior year of high school, which didn't really matter because I was at boarding school. And my brother and I are also very close, and he was living in Tampa. So I clerked for 2 summers at Carlton Fields, and then they had made me an offer to work, for them. So I moved to Tampa.
Your parents moved here. Did they move here for business reasons or retirement?
Yeah, I mean, my dad was a financial advisor and really more of a stockbroker back in the day. It was less about, big plans and advising and more about trading, and he liked the stock trades and all of that. So he came down here to open the Baird office, Robert W. Baird office.
Oh, okay.
And opened that in Clearwater, and then he had an office for a long time. He was managed offices in Palm Harbor area.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now you're in Tampa. You go to work with Carlton Fields?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that's a big firm.
It's a big firm. Yep. Yes.
It's a big firm.
It was a coveted job, great group of people, no complaints whatsoever as far as if you want to be at a big firm. It was a great educational experience. I was there about 3 years. I did commercial litigation and antitrust. And because the cases that we were working on, a lot of class actions, they were massive cases, just huge numbers. And so I worked with the team, and I really enjoyed the mentors that I had there. But I had no client contact. And I was like, good Lord, I'm not going to have client contact for, forever. And I really that was more my passion, was more to have the client relationships a little earlier in my career. And it wasn't anything I could put my finger on, but about 1.5 years in, I was like, this isn't the place for me. I took a long time to leave because it was a coveted job. It was a good salary. It was a top firm. So I was like, what am I thinking? Like, what's wrong with me that I'm not? Like, yay, I'm here. But I couldn't see myself there 5 years, 10 years, and therefore I didn't want to, keep going on that track.
Well, to your point, a lot of the entrepreneur attorneys I've met that went to work for big firms, they didn't have client contact. Mm-hmm. They were almost glorified. Even paralegals were ahead of them.
Yes, there's some of that.
Yeah, I mean, they just were, they were grunts.
Well, and back in the day, we didn't have, the document searching mechanisms that you have with technology now. So, you're in the ward room, reviewing documents for long periods of time.
Well, that had to be a pretty interesting. So what we'll do is when we come back after the break, we're going to talk about your transition out of big corporate lawyer and into your trek of helping entrepreneurs and stuff you've learned. I also like to remind our listeners that we have the Adjunct CEO free physical that we do every week. I'm stuttering with that, but the Adjunct CEO physical, if you want it, just go to help@adjunctceo.com, help@adjunctceo.com, and we'll get one of our folks to help you. We've had a number of entrepreneurs take the physical, and it's very eye-opening. It's not designed for anything other than to show you some of your blind spots. And with your blind spots, you can either go address it through books or you can address it however you want. But that's free, and it's at help@adjunctceo.com. And we really want you to reach out. Again, we've been on the air for a while. We get requests for this, and I got to tell you that every CEO that gets it or every entrepreneur that gets it is OMG in it with the help that it helps them to find their blind spots. So we'll be back for segment 2 with Miss Sheryl Hunter. See you at segment 2.
The CEO Hour with your host, Dean Akers, will be right back. Connect at deanakers.com. So, you're a tech startup. You're working hard, trying to make it happen with big ideas, big dreams, and a small budget. You need to connect with people in the same boat. Now is the time to join the early stage startup group, the Innovation Center, an incubator for early stage tech firms. You can find them at tbinnovates.com. Now operating for over 14 years, the Innovation Center is a regional, national, and internationally known success story, continuing to generate momentum in Pinellas County. Twice, the Innovation Center has won the Tampa Bay Technology Forum's Excellence in Service Award and has been recognized by Entrepreneur.com as a top 10 international business incubator. And now, Tech Garage, a technology and entrepreneurship center, has joined forces with the Innovation Center to provide a co-working program in downtown St. Petersburg. Connect with the startup community. Connect with the Innovation Center. Go to tbinnovates.com. That's tbinnovates.com. And tell them the Adjunct CEO sent you.
If you're a CEO or organizational leader looking to expand your business, join the CEO Council, where you'll meet and exchange ideas with fellow CEOs without the pressures of a sales network environment. You can join today by sending an email to application@adjunctceo.com. The CEO Council is comprised of over 220 fantastic local business leaders you'll be able to learn from because they walk in your shoes every day. When you become a member of the CEO Council, you'll have an opportunity to build trusted relationships during the roundtable meetings, share your triumphs, vet ideas, and work through business challenges with peers who can provide real-world business solutions. The CEO Council offers opportunities to hear from world-renowned speakers that inspire ideas to help members grow as both leaders and individuals. Join the CEO Council. Request your CEO Council membership application today at adjunctceo.com or by sending email to application@adjunctceo.com. That's application@adjunctceo.com.
Welcome back to the CEO Hour, helping your business succeed in today's marketplace. Connect at deanakers.com. And now your host, Dean Akers.
Well, welcome back to segment 2 of the CEO Hour. Again, I'm your host, Dean Akers, guiding you each week with one of our entrepreneur guests to help you in your either your entrepreneur or business. Or quite frankly, I get a lot of feedback from sales and people wanting to be in business. I had some callers or some emails recently at help@adjunctceo.com, and they were thanking me just for the insight to hear the challenges that entrepreneurs have because they had never had the idea some of our guests had been through what they had been through in order to be as successful as they are. Today, our guest, Sheryl Hunter, attorney here in the Tampa Bay area that really specializes in helping entrepreneurs, has joined us. And before we went to the break, we were talking about her leaving for her real first stint at entrepreneurship. Is that right?
Well, I didn't just jump immediately.
You didn't?
I didn't. No, I went to a small litigation firm. Oh. So it had like 4 attorneys, and that was actually a good stepping stone because I was able to see how a small firm was functioned. And I had, I think, about 6 paralegals that worked with me on cases. So I felt like after a couple of years of doing that, I think it was a year and a half, 2 years, that's when I was able to, in my mind, make the leap from big firm to opening my own firm. So it was a good little segue stint.
So that segue, though, did you, the smaller firm, what were the pitfalls of the smaller firm?
Wasn't the practice area that I thought it was. I've always had a passion for the elderly. And
really?
Yes, I used to volunteer in nursing homes and was an ombudsman for a nursing home in DC, and I've just always kind of adored old people, and enjoy talking with them. And so I did nursing home litigation, and so it was a complete 180, 360 really, to go from business litigation into nursing home litigation. But I felt like a calling to try to help people, and so that was where I gravitated to, is that particular area. But it was a little too one-sided. I felt like my business mind and sort of my fiscal conservative mind in terms of that could see both sides of the coin. And so after about a year and a half of doing bed sore cases and slips and falls and all of that, I loved talking to the adult children, mostly daughters, and having that connection. It fed that side of me that wanted the client connection. And I felt like I was doing some good, but I also did not like interviewing the CNAs and in a deposition standpoint, and I didn't feel comfortable with some aspects of it. But I did get to see how a small firm operated, and I think that gave me the confidence to start my own firm at a pretty young. Now I look back on it and I'm like, ooh, 5 years out, hey, let's go.
Yeah, that was a pretty big leap.
Yeah.
Well, that had to be interesting working in the nursing home industry. I've done some work in that space, and to your point, the caregivers in there, I can't imagine doing a deposition.
No, I just was like, yeah, bless you, really. And I'm like thinking, why didn't you turn and reposition them every 2 hours? It was like, how could you not? And I'm like, oh man.
That had to be.
Yeah.
That had to be.
And there are cases where there was definitely neglect. Don't get me wrong. There's a place for it.
Oh.
But it was just not where I wanted to spend my career.
Yeah, I think you find that in everything.
Of course.
So now you go from big firm, doing sitting in the books back in the day, to now you're in a mid-sized firm doing slip and fall.
Not even mid-sized. It was super small.
Oh, super small.
No,
but
you're like 4 attorneys. Yeah.
But you're doing nursing home litigation, which is got to be as tough as it gets.
Yes.
And now you wake up one morning and what happens?
I was actually in a car, and Claudia Thomas and her husband Russ Thomas. I don't know if you knew Russ.
I know Russ and Claudia so well.
Okay, so we were going out, my husband and I, and then we were on a date or something, date night. And, she was at Buchanan, Ingersoll, and we were both like, woe's me, what do we do? I'm not happy in mine, I'm not happy in mine. And Russ was like, you two know everybody. You girls should start your own firm. We were like, yeah, why not? Let's do it. So we
you started with Claudia?
Yes. So it was Hunter and Thomas.
And you were on Beta Bay, right?
We were actually in the Bigelow Helms Mansion carriage house, which was super cute.
Yeah.
It was a really cute space.
That's right.
Yeah. And so that was a special time in our lives because we both were pregnant. We had our babies while we had our firm, and went through on that journey together. And so it was a fun time. So that was all business law, real estate. That was really more to my liking. It was the practice areas that we both were interested in. It was a little bit of mix of transactional and litigation. So we did that together for like 2.5 years, and then we split our firms up, but we shared the space, continued. We just had completely separate clients, and so there was sort of shared risk, even though we weren't working on cases together. So we separated our firms, but we kept sharing space, and we're still good friends to this day. I saw her fairly recently.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I saw Russ not too long ago, and he's up in Jacksonville, being all crazy.
The golf mecca. That's why I was visiting them up there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's funny. My favorite part of the shows are meeting people like yourself, but learning the journeys. Yeah. And I have learned some interesting journeys. We had Carrie Charles on. I don't know if you know Carrie.
I don't.
I need to introduce you.
No.
She's just a rock star entrepreneur.
I enjoyed Lee Arnold's interview as well.
Yeah.
So I've known Lee, but I didn't really know his background.
Yeah, so you learn all these things, and it's just really crazy. And I didn't know you knew Russ and Claudia. That's small world, very small world.
Yeah.
So now you're on your own.
Right.
Is this now you're on your own, or?
So it was just the two of us, and we didn't even have staff, and at that point, it was also balancing being a new mom, and so we both had nannies, but wanted to be able to be with our kids a lot. So the freedom that you get with having your own business, and that's what I still love about it. I think that there's no doubt there are long hours, but if I want to go watch my son now, who's 16, play golf, for his school from 3 to 6, and then I'm up till midnight catching up on that I've missed that, I have complete flexibility to do that. And I think that's one of the gifts of owning your own business, and it's the flexibility of your time.
See, I think would you say that again for our listeners? Because I've been an entrepreneur too. And I have people when I'm out in the community think it's just a grueling whatever. But that's a huge benefit.
Huge benefit. It's a huge benefit. I feel completely in control of my own schedule. And, obviously you have client commitments.
Sure.
And other commitments that you make, but whether you make those commitments and what time of day you make those commitments is largely your own making. And so, and I'm a night owl anyway, so I love that I can just take that time that I need during the day. And I try to give my team that same level of flexibility, as now having a staff and other attorneys in my firm. I think it's so important for them to have flexibility in their lives in order to manage their family commitments and other things that happen.
Well, it creates a much more loyalty to the firm or to the company. And what's happened is I've had companies where we've done that, and all you do is you outline what the results are. Yeah. And it's amazing how people get the results done, and the hours are irrelevant. If you get the same results, who cares? Totally agree.
I think too much emphasis on FaceTime makes it really tough, and especially in this day and age, the younger people, millennials, No. They want flexibility. We all really do want flexibility. And it's hard if you're a parent, especially like one of my attorneys, her husband's a litigator. And so, that can be long days, trials, travel. So she really needed that flexibility with kids. And she's a great contributor to the firm. So, we worked out an arrangement for her schedule that as long as the work gets done, I'm not a big FaceTime person.
Well, more and more entrepreneurs should see it. I work with companies, mid-range companies, anywhere from 15 to 30, 40 million. And these guys and girls have been CEOs for a long time, and they're almost OCD about touching everything.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that if they would empower their teams a little more, the results they would get would be pretty insane.
Yeah, you probably need to counsel me on that, because that's probably my biggest hindrance, to growth is still having my hands in too much of the day-to-day work that goes out the door.
Well, we've got some real great entrepreneurs to be coming on in the next couple of months, just like yourself, and some of them have run billion-dollar companies, and I'm excited. I'm not going to tell you who they are today, but one of the things they always share with me is they don't touch the knobs.
Yeah.
They've learned to empower, and they've learned to in fact, most of them will recommend this book, and I've read it a dozen times.
Yeah. I know. All the tools are there. You just have to start, getting out of your own way and focusing on other things, I think is, I like the term that Nick said, delegate and elevate, because it's really both,
And those guys have lived it on steroids.
Absolutely.
They've grown that from a van to highly successful.
Yeah,
and
it was a good interview.
Yeah, and the College Hunks guys I love, and they're my role models. I still just cherish my time I get to spend with those guys.
Yep.
So again, we have Sheryl Hunter as our guest today. We're going to be coming back in a few moments with segment 3, and we'll continue on her journey. But I want to remind you, and I want to beat this into you about this offer, because again, if it was something that I didn't think would really help you as an entrepreneur, or even if you're in college or something to take, I wouldn't be doing it, because I've had so much success recently with people that have taken it that they go, wow, I wish I had seen this 15 years ago or whatever. And it's a CEO physical. It's a document. You fill it out. You can get it at help@adjunctceo.com, help@adjunctceo.com, and it will make a difference for you. It will help you in your business. It will help you with your blind spots. So please reach out. So we'll be back with Sheryl in segment 3. Have a good one.
Helping established CEOs and entrepreneurs. The CEO Hour continues in a moment. Connect with Dean Akers at deanakers.com. Welcome back to the CEO Hour with Dean Akers. Connect at deanakers.com. And now your host, Dean Akers.
Well, welcome back to session 3, or section 3 for the Adjunct CEO. This is Dean Akers, your host. This is the CEO Hour. Today we have Sheryl Hunter as our guest. She's been sharing her journey in the first 2 segments, and so now she's got her own firm, and she's now in the process of starting to grow. But I think one of the keys, this isn't a show about lawyers. This is a show about entrepreneurship and the challenges she's faced and the things she's done to grow her business. But more importantly, one of the things that's always attracted me to Sheryl is she helps entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. How big do you help entrepreneurs?
Oh, I love entrepreneurs. Like, I mean, I have a long journey, so, we could go on for a long time. But the bottom line is that when I had my own firm with Claudia, I then went in-house with a real estate developer from, you can imagine how fun this was, 2004 to 2009.
Oh, yes, so we had to crash.
Yeah, we had almost $1 billion under development, luxury waterfront. But I was hired not only to be in-house counsel, but to actually launch an equity vacation club from scratch.
Wow.
So, I had an 18-month-old and a 2-month-old at home, and he said, I had some interaction with Jay Heinberg. And he's like, I want to start this equity vacation club, and I want you to start and run it for me. And I'm like, absolutely. Because it was business. See, I was super attracted to that. It was a combination of legal and business. And so we launched in 8 months. We bought 8 multi-million-dollar homes, different parts of the country. We had them all designed with Walt Chansey. I don't know if you know, Chansey Design Partnership. It was super exciting, really fun, really crazy time. And so that was what really drew me. It's that convergence of business and law. So when you say, it's not really about being a lawyer, lawyers have historically, it's a profession. It is a business. And I think it's been to the detriment of lawyers and law firms that they don't think of it as a business oftentimes. It's usually a management team of lawyers, many of which who have no business experience, trying to run these firms. And they have to start thinking themselves as a business and operating in that function. So that's one of my passions, is to help solo and small firms to have some of the success that I've been able to have by layering business knowledge and experience on top of the practice of law.
Well, that's a very challenging situation, I would imagine.
Well, I'll let you know in a year or two and say.
Well, and the reason is.
But yes, I think it is.
I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and I've years ago a very smart man taught me about what he called the business stool, which there's 3 legs on.
All right.
There's finance, sales and marketing, or sales or revenue, and then there's operations.
Yep.
And he said, guess what happens on a 3-legged stool when any one of the 3 legs is shorter than the other? It either wobbles or tumbles over. And so I commend you for going on this journey, because I think a lot of professional firms, whether they're CPAs or whatever kind of real estate, everything, a lot of them miss that opportunity. And then you see the ones that are mega successful, and everybody just thinks they're lucky.
No, they're not lucky.
No.
They've built it on a foundation that enables them to have that level of success.
Yeah, and so now you've gone through the thing with Jay and his group, and that had to be kind of a pretty wild ride.
It was. And you'll never learn more, though, when you're in the depths of like a recession and trying to claw your way out of it. I know you've done turnarounds, and you can be so creative in that environment, and Jay was a very creative, forward-thinking person. So I learned a ton, just being on that ride, as challenging as it was. We were able to find a buyer for the Equity Vacation Club, which was the second largest non-equity vacation club based in Kissimmee. And then the day we closed, the CEO was like, I would like to hire you, because I think I was a pain for him. And he's like, I would rather have you on my team than on the other side of the aisle. So I worked for them for 9 months as VP of Business Development and in-house attorney. But that drive back and forth from Kissimmee, I can't even tell you. I only had to go twice a week, and that was too much. But he was also a super visionary, interesting. I learned a lot from him. Jim, too. So now he's doing fintech back up in New York. But that also ended up going bankrupt because it was just, trying to sell 100,000 plus memberships to travel. It wasn't the time. So that was a good experience. And that's when I was like, what do I really want to do? I'm going to get back into full-time practice of law. I'm going to chart my own journey. I'm ready now to launch my firm again. And that's when I really was like, I love to work with creative, growth-focused people who are, they do see shiny objects. And so, you have to try to help rein them in a little bit. But they're the most fun, exciting people to work for.
So I got to ask you a question. And you're probably going to slap me when we go to the break. But so
now I'm afraid.
No, I mean, your career is not a typical trajectory.
Oh, no, not at all. I'm sure many people were like, what is she doing? I didn't even tell you a couple of the other things, the shiny objects.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've got somebody asked me one time, they said, Dean, how do you know this? And I said, because I already did it. I've already screwed up. I'm just giving you the benefit.
Oh, yeah. That's my online education company that I had. Yeah, we'll be here all day if we actually went through every aspect of the journey.
But I think that's part of the entrepreneur's DNA.
Absolutely.
Is chasing the shiny objects.
Well, just curiosity. And it's probably my favorite part of myself, to be honest with you, is that I actually just have such a thirst for knowledge. I love, that's why I love podcasts, because I can be learning nonstop all day long, wherever I am.
Yeah, it's so your thirst for knowledge. So now you've decided you're not going to make that drive. I got to ask you one question, though. Through all this journey, when you were home at night, did your husband go, wow, Sheryl, you really got it going on?
I'm not sure what he was thinking, but I have a gem of a husband. We're about to have our 20th anniversary, and he's very different than me. I'm just type A, super want to try this, want to do that. And so, there are times where it probably would have been good for him to be like, no, don't do that. Please, you need, or shut that down, or stay focused on what you're doing. There were probably some good times for that statement to have been made, but he's super supportive of me. He knows how my makeup, and I think all of that has come together with the Entrepreneur's Law Firm, which is Hunter Business Law.
Right.
Now it all makes sense. When I weave it all back, now it's like I know exactly that this is exactly where all of those journeys took me to, and I know that I'm so much more effective as a lawyer for the type of people that I'm serving because of my own makeup and my own experiences.
I mean, that's epic, because you're not opening up the fifth book from the end on a book of law.
No.
You're bringing scars.
Yes.
You're bringing real wounds. You're bringing I sat there and saw this happen.
Yeah, belly of the business.
Yeah.
I think it's very hard if you're an attorney who's just worked in a law office and never been in the depths of a business that's failing or going through those motions with people, which is why really I positioned the firm as general counsel, outside general counsel. So I want people to feel that we're part of their management team.
Right.
That we're there on this journey with you. We understand that there's ups and downs. We don't want you just to call us at the last second when you're already in a crisis. Let us look ahead at what's coming down the pike so that we can help, guide you to avoid some of those bumps in the road.
That's got to be a big mission. How is it received generally?
I think it's received very well. It works just like relationships. You'll have chemistry with certain people, and things will flow more naturally the way that you want them to with some companies, just like with some people, right? So I can list out those firms, those companies that we serve where I feel like that synergy is there and it's working exactly as I wanted it to model. Other companies, they are more transactional in nature. They haven't really let us kind of come in fully into that environment. And some of that's cost. I get it. I mean, your level of engagement many times is limited by your resources financially, so they're going to keep legal. And part of it, too, is they see legal as legal. And they don't see us as their business counselors. And right. I think the people who work with us closely start to see the benefit of the business counselor role. And part of what I do very strongly, I think, and I really get my team to do it, is, people aren't going to necessarily know if your operating agreement has all the bells and whistles that a perfect attorney can get you. But they do know if you introduce them to high-value potential customers or vendors, or, hey, you really should go to this event and be seen at this event. So I do a lot of trying to expand my network to benefit our clients.
Well, that's critical. And I got to tell you, I've gone in and out of consulting for the last 26 years after I sold my tire company, and I've helped companies and owned companies. And one of the things is that trust is a big deal. And in the next segment, we can talk some more about how you build that trust. And what I find is they really need to bring you in. And somebody goes, well, it's a cost issue. No,
it's a savings.
Yeah, it's not a cost issue. It's a big time deal. And so in segment 4, we'll be back with Sheryl, and she'll bring us some of her thoughts and ideas on how to really grow your business. And you need to get these trusted advisors in there. And again, I'm going to beat you over the head with this, my listeners out there. You got to reach out to help@adjunctceo.com and get that physical. If I hadn't had so many people do it over the last 6, 8, 10 weeks, and I get the feedback from it, it's just, if you're not doing it, you're not getting the feedback. And that's what Sheryl's talking about today is getting feedback for the blind spots. You need to have your counsel as part of your team, not somebody you call when you're in the crisis. Right. So we'll be back with segment 4 with Sheryl Hunter, and we look forward to her conclusion.
Success never takes the weekend off. The CEO Hour continues in a moment. Growth begins by understanding where you are now. For a limited time, business growth experts at Adjunct CEO will provide a full CEO physical of your business valued at $10,000 for free. Email ceophysical@adjunctceo.com. This offer includes financial, marketing, and sales analysis and an outline to help you strategize future success. For your free CEO physical, email ceophysical@adjunctceo.com. ceophysical@adjunctceo.com. Florida ranks high as a new hub for business growth and innovation. Startups, restarts, and starting over are all part of the new vitality generated as geography and economic opportunity collide. As Florida's entrepreneurial ecosystem grows, many are using Synapse to grow their business. Synapse is a groundbreaking methodology that connects all personas within the innovation economy, utilizing a method that enables all users to progress in meeting their given needs while promoting much-needed community engagement. Never more than now has Florida presented opportunity to be better aligned in business, providing huge potential for greater overall results with strong collaboration and holistic leadership. Synapse is a growth synthesis platform that will allow you to take advantage and flourish in ways you never thought possible as an entrepreneur, as a business, and within the context of community, events, connections, publishing, all with Synapse. See for yourself at synapsefl.com. That's synapsefl.com. Welcome back to the CEO Hour, helping your business succeed in today's marketplace. Connect at deanakers.com. And now your host, Dean Akers.
Well, welcome back to the 4th segment of the CEO Hour. This is your host, Dean Akers, again, bringing you top CEOs and entrepreneurs in each week that bring their journey to you, our listeners, to help you with things that they've learned along the way that they would not want to do again, and ideas to help you maybe not end up having challenges that they do. We were joking at the break. We were talking about people go, well, how do you know all this? And they go, because I have the experience. It's not because I learned it at Georgetown Law. So we have Sheryl Hunter, the entrepreneur's attorney and truly an entrepreneur in her own right, on with us today. And Sheryl, I want you to really bring home your journey, the things you've learned, that our listeners can take home some real facts or real ideas today when the show's over. They go, wow, that made a difference.
Yeah, when I was planning to come on this show, I really thought through some of the big picture items that I wanted to share with your audience that have had a significant impact on me. One is A Key Person of Influence is a book by Daniel Priestley, and it's all about personal and professional branding. And it's basically 5 Ps of how you can become a key person of influence in your industry. And that was very critical for me in the sense that it helped me hone in on positioning my firm as the entrepreneur's law firm. I literally got registered the trademark of the entrepreneur's law firm. That's a differentiator than just saying we're a business law firm, right? It speaks to who you are and what you are in the marketplace, and therefore it's much easier for people to make referrals if they understand who you serve really quick. So I think it's critical. I had a young woman who left a law firm. She wasn't really happy there. She's trying to figure out what she wants to do. She wants to switch from litigation to transactional. And she's going on these job interviews. She goes, well, they just don't think I can do transact because I don't have any experience in transactional. I'm like, well, you're 1 year out of school. You don't have experience in anything. So I said, start blogging, start writing, post, 10 tips for starting your own company, and just become a transactional attorney. Nobody's holding you back. Like, start professionally and personally branding yourself in a niche part of transactional work. So that's a huge piece of my advice is there's just, with the internet now, you've got to be interesting and unique in order to attract a disproportionate amount of customers that you want to serve. So
that's a challenge for, I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs I'll ask them if they have any presence. And I'll go to their LinkedIn even nowadays, and their LinkedIn is like, really?
Mm-hmm. That's all you've done with it, right?
Yeah.
And I think it helps you if you actually narrow your niche. It doesn't mean you're not going to get any other work. So, for example, if somebody wanted to say, I am the non-compete lawyer, there's a ton of non-compete litigation going on, right? If you want to be, you can be a general business litigator, but if you are the non-compete litigator, guess what? Everybody has a non-compete issue who's now going to say, wow, well, they're the non-compete lawyer, so I'm going to go to that person. And when you get them in the door for a non-compete litigation, they're a business that's trying to enforce a non-compete. Guess what? They're likely to hire you to do their other business litigation. So it doesn't mean you're going to be that narrowly focused, but you've got to find something to differentiate yourself in the market. This is especially true of lawyers because there's so many of us.
Oh, there's a lot of you, but you see it in real estate, you see it in insurance, you see it in so many different segments,
right.
and actually you see it in personal branding within companies. People get lost in the shuffle. That advice you gave that
diluted.
young lady, how valuable.
They get diluted. Now you walk in and they say, well, I don't know if you can do transactional. Well, I'd love to leave you with my ebook on 10 tips for businesses here on contracts. Oh, interesting. So, and then I wanted to also talk about some things that I just say in my own head. One is living within the tension. It's a little different than having life balance, right? And it's for those moments where you're feeling out of sorts, you're feeling like maybe you're off the track, and you're feeling desperate to solve a problem and an issue. I just kind of had a friend who's a psychiatrist who's like, yeah, you got to live within the tension. And I thought that was a great way to think about it, is don't try to solve a problem faster than it's coming to you. Like, sometimes you got to live within that tension, and it will sort itself out in a more natural, organic way. If you listen to the right signals, you talk to trusted advisors, you start gathering information, and it will come to you. But if you press it and you're trying to desperately solve it, there's a lot of blocks in that.
That's just incredible advice. That probably has to do with people also for their personal lives.
Oh, yes. Like, it's okay if your marriage is not perfect all the time. If you're having tension with your teenage child, like, sometimes it's better just to live within it instead of pressing that other person to try to reach a conciliatory position when everybody's still hot and mad and you just aren't thinking very clearly. So just let it settle. And along the similar lines is living on the edge of your abilities. So a lot of people, particularly entrepreneurs, it's scary because you don't know what you're doing sometimes. And you have to trust in your talents and your abilities. And sometimes you're going to be up against the edge of that, which is where that curiosity that I talk about is so critical. Because if you're not willing to search stuff on Google, learn, go get a book, ask people, listen to podcasts. There's a massive amount of knowledge to be had. And so you can live on the edge of your abilities as long as every time you get close to that edge, you're starting to look at how to navigate the next step, because that's what you're afraid of. You're afraid of that next step over the edge, right? So fill in a step ahead of yourself. Always try to be a step ahead of yourself and what you need to know for the next stage in your growth of your business.
Now, that's a very profound thing, and I run into it all the time, where I'll sit with a CEO or something, and they basically are living in a vacuum. They aren't involved in organizations, and I'm talking about peer. We've had guys on the and girls on the show talk about go meet peers in your industry across the country and just go hang out with them.
Yep.
And then they'll sit there and they don't read. Podcasting today is just insane what you can learn while you ride to work.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. So the entrepreneurs out there, there's so many tools that the failure is just really not an option if you take advantage of the tools.
Absolutely. And that's why I really look when I'm hiring people for natural intellectual curiosity. Because a good example would be if I have a client who maybe they're not willing to pay a certain amount to get an answer to a question. I can't sit without the answer to the question. It's like, it just bothers me that I don't know that answer. So I'll just go search it on my own time, and I don't bill for that if the client ended up not hiring me for it. But if it's in my realm of business law, I just have to know. It's not a matter of, I can't bill for that. It's like, I can't leave it lying there. I've got to know what the answer is. So I look for that in people, and I think it's a key element, not only to what you're doing at the moment, but for staying relevant in the marketplace for years to come.
So I don't ever promote my book on the show, but I have the book Self-Talk, Think Like a Child.
Yeah.
And the funny part about it is I think like a child. And that's that curiosity.
Yes.
And I'll sit there and I just go into a company and they'll tell me about their industry or something, and I start Googling. I just can't even imagine 40 years ago if I'd had these tools.
Oh my gosh, it's so awesome to be such a huge leg up on people today, and to not take advantage of it. But you have to have a natural inclination, I think. And I think curiosity also is a massive tool for human interaction and networking. I just love people, and I want to know about them. I want to know their journey, like you're making those inquiries. And I think if you have a genuine curiosity about people, you come across as authentic when you're engaging with them, because you actually do want to know what they do and what they care about and how they spend their time and how their families are doing. If you don't have that, I think it would be a real struggle if you're not naturally inclined that way. And I guess the question is, how do you really get that way, or is it just something, the DNA? I think it's DNA. I hate to say it. I think you can learn to a degree, and I think it's maybe momentum based. So if you start reading and listening on podcasts, just turn the podcast on. There's every imaginable subject. So just start doing things to re-engage yourself. And it's particularly people who are coming out of an industry, even veterans, coming out of one part of their life, segueing into a new part of their life. These are some of this is behavioral, and you can learn new behaviors. Well, when the show's over today, I'm going to spend a few moments with you. And again, thank you for coming on today to talk about even our transitioning veterans. They have the same situation. They're so in the box thinking that when you get them thinking outside the box, their talents are just insane. So any other final tips that you'd like our listeners to really leave with today? And again, thank you, Sheryl, but give us some final closing tips that really we can take home. I'd say the other thing is goal setting. And a lot of people talk about this, but short and long-term goal setting. I read at one point that only 2% of female-owned businesses go over the $1 million revenue mark. Wow. Which was rather staggering in my mind. So I wanted to be a woman in business that exceeded that. And then when we got past the $1 million, I wanted to get past $2 million and wanted to get on the Inc. 5000 list, which we just got on last month. Congratulations. So I think it's important for two reasons. One is it sets your mind to achieving something. Secondly, you can celebrate it with your team and your family and the people who have helped you along the way. It's a milestone to celebrate. And I think it's always important to stop and celebrate what you have achieved. I'm not very good about that. I'm trying to train myself at the end of the day to think about everything I did accomplish and not what's still on the to-do list, because it kind of makes me nuts. But that would be my parting goal point is to really set goals, be curious, and be in a niche.
Well, Sheryl, again, I want to thank you for coming on today, and I know our listeners will definitely get benefit from you today. I know I have, and again, Sheryl shared so many cool things today. I would encourage you. We do post this up as a podcast after the weekly radio show actually goes, and that's the CEO Hour podcast. So until next week, this is Dean Akers, your CEO Hour host. Have a great week.
Thank you, Dean.
You've been listening to the CEO Hour with Dean Akers, helping businesses and CEOs succeed in today's marketplace. Receive a free CEO physical when you connect with Dean at deanakers.com. That's deanakers.com. Join us again next week for the CEO Hour with Dean Akers.